Wife left me for my brother because her astrologer said they were soulmates, but I just found out my brother paid the astrologer to lie to her. Now she wants me back. I'm 35, and I was married to my wife, 34, for 7 years, though we had been together for 10. We shared a lot, traveling, cooking, binge-watching shows, and even had similar goals in life. The one area where we didn't quite align was our beliefs. I've always been a science and logic guy. I like facts, and I've always made decisions based on reason. My wife was like me, until 2020 hit, when we were stuck at home during the pandemic. She, like many others, got really into astrology. It started with her scrolling through Instagram and TikTok for hours while we were confined, and it just spiraled from there. At first, it was harmless. She'd read my horoscope or tell me Mercury was in retrograde whenever things didn't go our way. It was no big deal. I didn't really care as long as it made her happy. When the restrictions lifted, the first thing she did wasn't catching up with friends or going back to work. It was finding a reputable astrologer. I was a bit surprised, but didn't fight it. I loved my wife, and if astrology gave her some comfort or clarity after a tough time, I was fine with that. I wanted to respect her beliefs, even if they seemed like total nonsense to me. I figured, if this made her happy and didn't hurt anyone, why not? I'm a reasonable guy, and everyone has their quirks. I didn't want to be dismissive or controlling, but then it got extreme. She began spending hundreds of dollars on birth, chart readings, and astrologically cleansing our home. She started basing every little decision on what the stars told her. She consulted the astrologer about everything, from what she should eat to whether we should book a vacation. She even claimed certain times of the day were unlucky to discuss serious topics, so we had to schedule our conversations. She told me I couldn't make important decisions because my stars were misaligned. She picked fights with me because our signs didn't match or because a certain planet was in retrograde. At one point, she wanted us to move because apparently our house's energy wasn't in sync with her rising sign or something. Still, I tried to be understanding. I didn't agree with any of it, but I tolerated everything because I genuinely loved her. I kept telling myself relationships are about compromise. I figured it was just a strange obsession, and I didn't want to be the guy telling his wife what to believe. I thought that if I kept supporting her, she'd eventually see how unhinged it all was. Then came the day everything fell apart. She had me sit down face to face in the living room. She looked uncomfortable and on the verge of tears, which immediately made my heart drop. I could tell something was wrong. She'd been acting odd for days. I'd asked multiple times what was wrong, but she brushed me off and ignored me. Anyway, she started crying and told me her astrologer had revealed something life-changing. According to the stars, I wasn't her real soulmate. Instead, my brother, 33, was her true soulmate. The astrologer had done an extensive reading and claimed their cosmic connection was stronger than ours. He also said our marriage was doomed from the start, which she believed was why we had so many disagreements. She thought I opposed her opinions, like wearing red on certain days, because the stars said our relationship was incompatible. I was honestly stunned. I might joke about it now, but that day I swear a nerve in my brain snapped. At first I thought it was a joke or a misunderstanding, but as I watched her sob hysterically, I realized she was dead serious. She said it was time for her to follow her true path with my brother. She cried, saying it wasn't her choice, but the stars' decision. She kept saying the universe wanted this and things like the stars don't lie and this was meant to be. I tried to reason with her as much as possible. I told her she was being absurd, letting some distant space rocks millions of light years away dictate her life. But she wouldn't listen. I reminded her of the years we'd spent building a life together, one I believed we both cherished deeply. Still, she was convinced that fate had already made its choice, and there was no turning back. I fought back as hard as I could, but every argument I made was met with something astrology-related. She insisted our marriage was a bad alignment and that my astrological energy clashed too much with hers. I couldn't believe it. She was tossing aside everything we had because some astrologer claimed my brother was her true cosmic match. It made no sense. To make things worse, my brother seemed completely fine with it. He didn't show any shock or hesitation when she told him what the astrologer had said. In fact, he quickly took her under his wing. That's when my gut screamed that something was seriously wrong. My brother and I were never close, but for him to just be okay with my wife leaving me for him was beyond disgusting and suspicious. My family didn't help either. They bought into all the astrology nonsense and told me to accept fate and move on. They said if the astrologer was right, I couldn't stand in the way of what was meant to be. I felt utterly alone. No one seemed to think this was as insane as I did. The divorce process started soon after. I won't get into all the details, but it was brutal. We had to wait the mandatory 6 months for it to be finalized, and during that time, I had to watch my ex-wife and brother act like some new couple. It was humiliating. For the next year, I tried to move on. I went through therapy, cut off most contact with my family, and focused on work. It wasn't easy, but I was managing. Then, about a year later, out of nowhere, my ex-wife reached out. I hadn't spoken to her since the divorce was final, and seeing her name pop up on my phone shocked me. She texted that she needed to talk urgently and asked if I was free to meet within an hour. Honestly, I didn't want to go. I had free time, but didn't think seeing her was a smart choice. I told her so, but she was insistent. She kept saying she had important information to share and wanted to meet in person. I asked her to just text it, but she refused. Curiosity got the better of me, so I agreed to meet her. When I saw her, she looked like a mess, like she hadn't slept in days. The first thing she did was start crying. She told me she'd made a huge mistake and begged for my forgiveness. I was confused and honestly didn't want to hear her out because I'd only agreed to meet for that important information. After, she stopped apologizing. She finally shared the news. Apparently, she had overheard a conversation between my brother and someone else. She caught my brother talking about how easy it was to win her over. When he left his phone unattended, she checked who he'd been speaking with and discovered it was her astrologer. She confronted him, and he spilled the truth. It turned out my brother had paid the astrologer to convince her they were soulmates. He knew how deeply she believed in astrology and exploited that to get her away from me. Apparently, my brother had always been jealous of my job, my friends, my life in general, and he wanted it all for himself. Over time, his resentment grew, and he developed an obsession with my ex-wife. My ex-wife was devastated. She couldn't believe she'd been manipulated like that. And honestly, neither could I. She also told me that my brother had changed completely after they got together. He'd become controlling, mean, and even emotionally abusive. Now she's desperate to come back because she realizes how wrong she was. She said she never truly appreciated how good she had it with me until she left me for my scumbag brother. She told me she felt humiliated for destroying our marriage over a lie. She also said she had already left my brother after learning the truth and wanted to make things right with me. She begged me to take her back, claiming she'd been blinded by everything but still loved me. I don't even know where to start. On one hand, I'm furious that she fell for this nonsense, and furious that my brother manipulated the entire situation. But on the other hand, a part of me still holds on to hope. Despite everything, I can't deny I still have feelings for her. I've even imagined what it might be like to have her back in my life. Yet, the question remains, how could I ever trust her again? I told her I needed time to think, but honestly, I don't know if I can ever forgive her. I'm not even sure if I want to. She made her choice, and now that the truth is out, I don't think I'll ever see her the same way again. I get why people think I shouldn't take my wife back after all this. Wow, I didn't expect to get so many comments. I've been receiving a lot of support and advice, and I want to thank everyone who reached out. Many of you have been telling me not to take my ex-wife back, and honestly, I'm leaning that way too. She made her choice, and even though it was all based on lies and manipulation, it's hard to forget how easily she threw our marriage away. A lot of people asked about my relationship with my brother, so here's some background. Growing up, my brother and I were never close. For some reason, he's always been jealous of me. If I got good grades, he'd get upset. If I did well in sports, he'd complain. There were even times when he sabotaged me in small ways, like hiding my school project the day it was due, or purposely trying to embarrass me in front of friends. My parents always said it was because he felt like he didn't measure up. They would bend over backwards to make him feel better, spoiling him with gifts or extra attention whenever he threw a fit, which only made things worse. They had a soft spot for him, always making excuses for his behavior. They'd say he was sensitive and just needed more encouragement. But really, they were enabling him. Every time he acted out of jealousy, they showered him with attention instead of holding him accountable. I can't even count how many times they told me to be the bigger person and let things slide so he wouldn't feel bad. Looking back, it's no surprise he pulled this whole stunt with my ex-wife. He's always been competitive and jealous. When he saw something I had that he wanted, he just took it. Instead of facing the consequences, he manipulated everyone around him, including my ex-wife, into thinking it was all destiny or whatever. It's actually sick. I also want to clear up something about astrology. I don't think it's complete nonsense. I mean, it can be fun, right? I've read horoscopes before, but I never took it seriously. For me, it's just entertainment, not something that should control your life. The problem was never that my ex-wife liked astrology. I was fine with that. The problem started when she let it dictate her decisions, like leaving me for my brother because of some cosmic connection. That's when it became an issue for me. Since my ex-wife came clean about everything, I've been in a weird place. On one hand, I'm relieved there wasn't some mystical reason my marriage fell apart. It was just my brother being the manipulative person he's always been. But on the other hand, I'm still hurt and angry. I can't believe I lost everything because of this. My ex-wife hasn't given up on trying to get me back either. Somehow, she found my new address, I don't even know how, and has been sending me flowers and gifts non-stop. It's awkward, and honestly, makes me uncomfortable. Every time I see a new delivery, it stirs up all those old emotions again. I don't know what she expects. Does she really think flowers will magically fix everything? As for the biggest update, my brother tried to contact me. Keep in mind, this man hasn't called me in over a year, and he had the audacity to call me only after he manipulated my ex-wife into leaving. Throughout the conversation, he acted like none of it was his fault. He said my ex-wife was lying, and that there was a big misunderstanding about the astrologer. He claimed he never paid anyone off, and that the astrologer really did believe they were soulmates. Yeah, right. I didn't believe a word he said. I've known my brother my whole life, and I know when he's lying. He's always been good at twisting things to make himself look innocent, and this was no different. He kept trying to justify what he did by saying it wasn't his fault, that the universe wanted him to be with her. He even had the nerve to say that if I were a better husband, maybe she wouldn't have turned to astrology in the first place. That was the final straw for me. After that call, I made the decision to cut him off completely. I blocked his number and made sure he couldn't contact me anymore. I'm done with him. It's hard enough dealing with my ex-wife trying to win me back, but I don't need my brother in my life making things worse. Cutting him off felt like the right choice, but it still hurts that it had to come to this. He's my brother, but after everything, I just can't forgive him. For now, I'm trying to focus on myself, taking things one day at a time. I know I deserve better than what either of them put me through. I'll keep you all updated if anything else happens, but for now, I'm just trying to move forward and keep my distance from the drama. Hey everyone, I didn't expect to be back with another update so soon, but a lot has happened, and I felt like I needed to share. After my last post, where I mentioned cutting off contact with my brother, I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. His whole "it was a misunderstanding" speech got to me, and even though I didn't believe him, I started feeling this itch to know the truth for myself. Plus, my ex-wife was still convinced the astrologer was involved, and honestly, not having any real confirmation was driving me nuts. So I decided to track down the astrologer. I figured if there was any chance of getting real answers, it had to come from the source. It took me a while, but I eventually found out where he was working. I went there, and let me tell you, I wasn't playing nice. I needed the truth, no matter what. When I first confronted him, he tried to act like he didn't know what I was talking about. He gave vague answers about following the stars and cosmic connections, but I wasn't backing down. I pushed harder and told him I knew my brother had something to do with it. After a lot of pressure, he finally cracked. He admitted that yes, my brother had paid him to tell my ex-wife they were soulmates. He said my brother offered him a good amount of money to make it convincing, and since my ex-wife was already super into astrology, he knew she'd believe it without question. I asked if my brother threatened the astrologer or just offered money. I needed to know how far my brother went to ruin my life. The astrologer told me my brother simply offered the money, no threats involved. He tried to justify taking the bribe by saying he was struggling financially and had a family to feed. While I sympathize with that, I don't think scamming people and ruining lives is a good way to earn money. Hearing that was both satisfying and infuriating. On one hand, it felt good to finally have proof my brother was behind everything. On the other, it made my anger flare up all over again. I couldn't believe the lengths my brother went to just to destroy my marriage and get what he wanted. It wasn't some cosmic connection, it was manipulation, plain and simple. Then things got even crazier. Apparently, after I confronted the astrologer, he got spooked and started running his mouth to others. He told clients, friends, and anyone who'd listen about how my brother hired him to scam my ex-wife. He claimed my brother threatened him and paid him hush money. Those were lies. The guy didn't seem very smart, and when I asked if he'd been threatened, he admitted he was lying. I guess he did it to save himself. I only found out why a few days later. It turns out my ex-wife was furious about being tricked. She went on a rampage, posting reviews on every website and social media platform she could find, exposing the astrologer as a fraud and a man who could be easily bribed. Once the astrologer caught wind of this, he flipped and tried to shift all the blame onto my brother, telling anyone who'd listen that he was just following orders, saving his own skin, and throwing my brother to the wolves. The story spread like wildfire. I first heard about it through a friend who saw a post featuring my wife's review in a local Facebook community group where people were already discussing how shady the astrologer was. At first, they just said they always suspected he was a scammer, but eventually the conversation shifted toward my brother. A few people who had interacted with the astrologer came into these groups and openly shared my brother's involvement in the scheme. It didn't take long for word to spread. Soon, more people were discussing how my brother had used this astrology scam to steal my wife, and things just spiraled from there. The fallout has been massive. My brother's reputation is in ruins. People in our social circles are distancing themselves from him. He's losing friends left and right, and even business contacts are cutting ties because no one wants to be associated with someone who would pull such a dirty move. His whole image is collapsing, and honestly, I can't say I feel bad about it. He's finally facing the consequences of his actions, and while I never expected things to blow up like this, it feels like justice in a strange way. That said, I'm still left dealing with the mess he created. My ex-wife is still begging for forgiveness, and now that the truth is fully out, she's even more desperate. She says she was manipulated, and while I understand that to some degree, it's hard to ignore that she believed this ridiculous soulmate story and left me for my brother without a second thought. I don't know what to do about her. Part of me understands that she was lied to, but another part feels like I can never trust her again, no matter how sorry she is. Emotionally, I'm still all over the place. I'm glad the truth came out, but that doesn't erase what happened. I spent so long feeling betrayed by the people closest to me. While my brother is finally getting what he deserves, I'm still trying to figure out where to go from here. I feel relieved, but also kind of hollow. It's like, yeah, the truth is out. But now what? My marriage is still over. My relationship with my brother is beyond repair, and I'm left picking up the pieces. If anything new happens, I'll let you all know. Hey everyone, It's been about 5 months since my last update, and a lot has changed. I figured I'd give a final update since things have mostly settled. And honestly, things have been getting a lot better for me. First, about my brother's situation. After his reputation took a huge hit from all the fallout, things only got worse for him. Almost everyone cut him off. Friends, business contacts, even some family members. His whole image as a successful guy has been destroyed. He's struggling to keep his business afloat, and I've heard he's lost many clients because people just don't trust him anymore. I thought I wouldn't care after everything he did, but I do feel a little sorry for him. It's not like I wanted his whole life to collapse, but at the same time, he made his choices and now has to face the consequences. Thankfully, he hasn't tried to contact me again, but my parents did, on his behalf. After everything, my parents reached out. They had supported my brother throughout the drama and believed in the astrologer's nonsense, just like my ex-wife did. But once the truth came out, they began to see how wrong they were. They called to apologize for not being there for me enough when my ex-wife left. They said sorry for not recognizing what was going on and for not holding my brother accountable. I was honestly surprised they took the time to call and apologize, so I listened. The first part of the conversation went well. I opened up about how much they hurt me growing up by never disciplining my brother. They apologized sincerely, and I started to think maybe not all hope was lost. Then at some point, my mum started talking about how sad it was that my brother lost everything. I tried to keep my cool and played along, but that was a mistake. The conversation quickly shifted. They began asking if I could help my brother in some way, because they thought he didn't deserve to lose everything. They told me they understood my pain, but said I shouldn't be okay with seeing my brother struggle so much. They wanted me to help by making a public statement claiming all the rumors were exaggerated and nothing like that actually happened. That's when I finally lost it. Everything I had kept tucked away neatly in the corner of my mind suddenly exploded. I mean, I understand that they're parents too, but it felt like they were still making excuses for him. I told them I wasn't going to intervene to save him. I wasn't responsible for his problems, and he needed to face the consequences of his own actions. When I said no, my parents got really angry. They said I was being mean and unforgiving. That's when I realized I couldn't keep talking to them about it. They were still only seeing my brother as the victim, instead of recognizing that he caused his own mess. After that, I decided to talk to them less and distance myself. I needed to take care of my own mental health, and being around people who refused to see the truth wasn't good for me. I don't hate my parents, but they have to accept that my brother isn't who they think he is. Since then, I've made a big decision. I moved to a different state. Part of me needed a fresh start, and I realized being near my family and the ongoing drama wouldn't give me that. I found a job opportunity that fit what I was looking for, and so far, it's been great. As for my ex-wife, she made one last attempt to win me back. A few weeks after my last update, she sent me a long text saying she had completely cut astrology out of her life and was committed to being a better person. She admitted she was fooled, and while I appreciate that she's owning up to her mistakes, I just couldn't go back. Don't get me wrong, it was very tempting at first. We'd been together for years, and there was definitely a part of me that missed the comfort of our relationship. I loved her deeply, and I felt sorry for her. She was tricked and used, and I know she's hurting too. But as I sat with those feelings, I realized I didn't actually miss her as much as I missed being in a relationship. I missed the routine, the companionship, and the familiarity. But her, I wasn't sure I could ever trust her again. Even if astrology was no longer part of her life, the damage was too deep. No matter how much she apologized, she made a choice to leave me for my brother based on a ridiculous, manipulated belief. And that's not something I can overlook. I've also started dating again. It's still early, but I met someone grounded who values trust and communication. We're taking things slow, not rushing anything, but it feels good to be with someone I can actually build something real with. There's no drama, no games, just two people getting to know each other and enjoying each other's company. It's been refreshing, to say the least. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks again to everyone who's helped me through this journey. I hope you know I've read almost every comment and taken every piece of advice to heart. I hope you're as satisfied with where my life has landed as I am.